The alarm screamed through the command center like a dying animal. Jake Morrison jumped from his chair and stared at the massive screen in front of him. The numbers made no sense. His hands shook as he counted the red dots appearing on the display. 9,896. 9,897. The count kept climbing as more enemy ships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. "Sir, we're getting impossible readings," called out Sergeant Tim Walsh from his station. His voice cracked like a teenager's. "The computer says there are almost 10,000 ships out there." Jake rubbed his eyes and looked again. The dots were still there, forming a massive cloud of death heading straight for Earth. He had been a soldier for 15 years, fought in 3 wars, and seen things that would give most people nightmares, but he had never seen anything like this. "Get me President Carter on the line?" Jake said. His voice sounded calm, but inside his chest, his heart hammered like a drum. "And wake up everyone. Every single person in this building needs to see this." Across the world, other defense stations were seeing the same terrible sight. In London, Major Kate Davis watched her screens with growing horror. "In Tokyo, Commander?" Rick Chun called his wife to tell her he loved her. In Moscow, General Alex Petrov poured himself a large glass of vodka and drank it in one gulp. The alien fleet was massive beyond anything humans had ever imagined. Each ship was the size of a city block. The largest ones were bigger than entire cities. They moved through space in perfect formation, like a school of deadly fish swimming through dark water. Admiral Krextol stood on the bridge of his flagship and felt satisfaction wash over him. This would be his greatest victory, the conquest. That would make his name famous throughout the Zelthari Empire. He looked at the small blue planet on his display screen and smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "How long until we reach the target?" he asked his second-in-command. 18 hours, Admiral. The humans will see us coming long before we arrive." "Good," Krextol said. "I want them to see us. I want them to understand how hopeless their situation is. Fear makes the conquest easier." The Zelthari had conquered 14 worlds in the past 100 years. Each time, the pattern was the same. They would arrive with overwhelming force, demand surrender, and then take what they wanted. Most species gave up without a fight. The few that resisted were crushed quickly and completely. The humans looked no different from the others. Their technology was primitive, their weapons weak, their ships few in number. Krextol had studied their radio broadcasts and found them amusing. They fought each other over small pieces of land and argued about things that didn't matter. They would break easily, on Earth. President Lisa Carter sat in the Situation Room deep beneath the White House. The faces around the table were grim. General Pete Davis, the head of Earth's military forces, spread star charts across the table with shaking hands. "How many ships do we have?" Carter asked. 212 combat vessels, Davis replied. "Most of them are patrol boats and small destroyers. We have maybe 30 ships that could fight something this big. And they have 10,000, 9,900 to be exact." "But who's counting?" Carter looked around the table at her advisors. Secretary of Defense Bob Taylor was pale as paper. CIA Director Nancy Green kept checking her phone as if help might come from somewhere else. Only Dr. Helen Brooks seemed calm, but Carter knew the scientist well enough to see the tension in her shoulders. "What about the orbital defense platforms?" Carter asked. "They might hold them off for an hour," Davis said. "Maybe 2 if we're lucky. These aren't pirates or terrorists. This is a full military invasion by a species that has conquered half the galaxy." "Dr. Brooks," Carter said, turning to the quiet woman at the end of the table. "Your people have been studying alien technology for years. Do we have anything that might help?" Helen Brooks looked up from her tablet. She had been Earth's leading expert on alien technology ever since the first crashed ship was found in the Nevada desert 10 years ago. Her team had learned much from studying the wreckage, but not enough. "We have some ideas," she said carefully, "but they're untested. And, dangerous. More dangerous than being wiped out by 10,000 alien warships? Maybe What I'm working on could backfire completely. It could make things worse. Carter stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see people going about their normal lives. Children played in parks. Adults hurried to work. None of them knew that death was racing toward them through the cold vacuum of space. "How long do we have?" she asked. 17 hours until they reach Earth orbit, Davis replied. "Maybe less if they speed up? Then we use whatever time we have. Dr. Brooks, I'm giving you unlimited resources. Take whatever you need, use whoever you want. General Davis, start evacuating the major cities. We can't save everyone, but we can try to save some." "What about our fleet?" Davis asked. Carter was quiet for a long moment. She thought about the brave men and women who flew Earth's ships. They were good people, heroes every one of them. And she was about to send them to die. "Send them out," she said finally. "Tell them to buy us time. Every minute they can give us might save 1,000,000 lives." Captain Roy Thompson received his orders while his ship, the USS Valiant, orbited above the moon. He read the message twice, then called his crew together in the main hangar bay. 200 sailors looked up at him with trust in their eyes. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, his voice echoing in the large space, "we have a job to do. In 16 hours, the largest enemy fleet in history will arrive at Earth. Our orders are to meet them and hold them off as long as possible." A young ensign raised her hand. "Sir, how many ships are we facing?" "Almost 10,000. The hangar fell silent. Thompson could hear the hum of the ship's engines and the soft whisper of the air recycling system. Someone coughed. Someone else whispered a prayer. "I won't lie to you," Thompson continued. "The odds are not in our favor. Anyone who wants to transfer to evacuation duty can do so now. No one will think less of you." Nobody moved. Thompson felt pride swell in his chest. These were Earth's finest, and they would not run from a fight, no matter how hopeless it seemed. "Then, let's get to work. We have a planet to defend." Across Earth's fleet, similar scenes played out. Captains told their crews the truth. Engineers worked frantically to squeeze every bit of power from their engines. Weapons officers checked and double-checked their systems. Medical teams prepared for casualties they knew were coming. Dr. Brooks worked in her underground laboratory, surrounded by alien technology and human computers. Her team of scientists and engineers labored beside her, knowing they were racing against time itself. The project they were working on was theoretical, based on observations of alien weaknesses that might not even exist, but it was the only hope they had. If her calculations were right, humanity might have a chance. If she was wrong, 10,000 alien ships would turn Earth into a graveyard within hours of their arrival. The countdown had begun. 17 hours and falling. Earth held its breath and prepared for war. The message came at exactly noon, Earth time. Every radio, television, and communication device on the planet received it at the same moment. The voice was cold and mechanical, speaking perfect English with no emotion at all. "People of Earth, I am Admiral Krextel of the Zelthari hegemony. Your world has been selected for integration into our empire. You have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally. Lay down your weapons, power down your ships, and prepare for new management. Resistance will result in the complete destruction of your species." President Carter sat in the Situation Room and listened to the message play 3 times. Around her, generals and advisors waited for her response. The weight of 8 billion lives pressed down on her shoulders like a mountain. "Get me a direct line to their ship," she said. "Ma'am, are you sure that's wise?" asked Secretary Taylor. "They want to talk. Let's talk." 5 minutes later, Carter's face appeared on screens across the alien fleet. Admiral Krextel studied the human leader with interest. She looked small and weak, like most of the species he had conquered. But something in her eyes made him pause. "I am President Carter of Earth," she said. "I have a message for you and your fleet. Speak quickly, human. Your time is almost up." Carter looked directly into the camera. Her voice was steady and strong. "Come and take it." The transmission ended. Admiral Krextel stared at the blank screen for a moment, then began to laugh. It was a harsh sound that made his bridge crew. "Step back in fear. They want to fight," he said. "How amusing." "Begin the attack." Captain Roy Thompson watched the alien fleet approach through the bridge windows of the USS Valiant. The enemy ships looked like massive metal insects, all angles and sharp edges. They moved in perfect formation, confident in their overwhelming numbers. "All ships, this is Captain Thompson," he broadcast to the human fleet. "Remember the plan. Hit and run. Don't try to slug it out with them. We're faster and smaller. Use that." Lieutenant Sarah Kim worked frantically at her station, making final adjustments to the communication systems. Dr. Brooks had given her team specific instructions, modifications that made no sense but might save their lives. Sarah didn't understand the science, but she trusted the doctor completely. "Communication array is ready, sir," she reported. "Good, let's see what these aliens are made of." The first shots were fired near Mars. Human ships darted in like angry wasps, firing missiles and energy beams before spinning away from the alien response. The Zelthari had never seen tactics like this before. Their enemies usually lined up in neat formations and fought like gentlemen. These humans fought like savages. They came from above and below, from the sides and behind. They used asteroids for cover and fired from the shadows of planets. When the aliens tried to target them, the human ships would split apart and attack from 3 different directions. Admiral Krextal watched his display screen with growing frustration. His ships were destroying the human vessels, but it was taking much longer than expected, and the humans were learning. Each attack was more coordinated than the last, more effective. "Sir, we're detecting unusual communication patterns from the human fleet," reported his communications officer. "What kind of patterns?" "They seem to be sharing tactical data in real time. Every time we destroy one of their ships, it transmits everything it learned to the others before dying." Krextal had never heard of such a thing. Most species tried to save their own lives when facing death. These humans were using their deaths as weapons, passing knowledge to their comrades with their final breaths on Earth. Dr. Brooks stood in her laboratory surrounded by screens showing the space battle. Her plan was working, but slowly, she needed more time. Her fingers flew across the keyboard as she activated hidden installations around the globe. "Are you sure about this?" asked her assistant, Dr. Mark Johnson. "No," Brooks replied. "But it's the only chance we have." General Pete Davis coordinated Earth's defenses from his command bunker. Reports flooded in from around the world. The orbital platforms were firing everything they had at the alien ships. Nuclear missiles launched from hidden silos racing toward the enemy fleet. The aliens destroyed most of the missiles easily, but some got through. Bright flashes lit up the darkness of space as atomic fire bloomed against alien hulls. The enemy ships shrugged off the explosions like raindrops. "They're too strong," Davis muttered. "Our weapons barely scratch them." But something strange was happening to the alien fleet. Their perfect formation was starting to drift. Ships that should have been moving in straight lines began to wander slightly off course. Their weapons fire became less accurate. Lieutenant Colonel Amy Price watched her instruments with growing excitement. She commanded Earth's most powerful orbital defense platform, a massive station that had taken 20 years to build in secret. It was hidden inside what looked like a communications satellite. "Ma'am, I'm detecting interference in the alien navigation systems," reported her weapons officer. "Dr. Brooks did it," Price whispered. "The frequency transmitters are working." Around the globe, installations that looked like radio towers and cell phone relays began broadcasting specific patterns into space. The patterns were designed by Dr. Brooks based on her study of captured alien technology. She had discovered that Zelthari ships used a particular frequency for their navigation computers. If she could disrupt that frequency, the alien ships would have trouble working together. Their perfect coordination would break down. It was a small advantage, but it might be enough. Captain Thompson led his remaining ships in another attack run. Only half of his original fleet was still fighting, but they had learned valuable lessons. The aliens' weapons were powerful but slow to turn. Their shields were strong in front but weaker on the sides. All ships target their engine sections, Thompson ordered. We can't destroy them, but we can slow them down. The human ships dove toward the alien fleet like hawks attacking a flock of geese. Missiles and energy beams lanced out, striking at thruster pods and engine housings. Several alien ships began to fall behind their formation. Struggling with damaged propulsion systems, Admiral Krextall slammed his fist on his command chair. The humans were like insects, too small to kill easily, but too numerous to ignore. His fleet was still advancing toward Earth, but much more slowly than planned. "Sir, we're having navigation problems," reported his helmsman. "Something is interfering with our guidance systems. Fix it." "We're trying, sir, but the interference is getting stronger as we get closer to Earth." On the human ships, Lieutenant Sarah Kim watched her instruments with amazement. The modifications Dr. Brooks had made to their communication systems were working perfectly. Every time an alien ship tried to jam human communications, the signal became stronger instead of weaker. "It's like they're feeding power into our systems," she told Captain Thompson. "The harder they try to cut us off, the better our communications get." Thompson smiled grimly. Dr. Brooks always was 10 steps ahead of everyone else. The space battle raged for hours. Human ships darted in and out of the alien formation, striking at weak points before disappearing into the darkness. The aliens destroyed many of them, but the survivors became smarter and more dangerous with each attack. By the time the alien fleet reached Earth orbit, Admiral Krextall was no longer smiling. His perfect formation had become a scattered mob of ships. His communication systems were unreliable. His navigation computers kept giving him wrong information. The humans had done something to his fleet, something subtle and dangerous. He had expected a quick victory followed by a peaceful occupation. Instead, he found himself fighting a war against an enemy that refused to follow the rules. "Prepare for orbital bombardment," he ordered. "We'll end this quickly." But even as he gave the command, Krextall wondered if ending this would be as easy as he hoped. The humans had already surprised him once. What other tricks might they have waiting? On Earth, Dr. Brooks watched the alien fleet gather above her planet and smiled coldly. The real battle was about to begin. Captain Roy Thompson knew he was about to die. His ship, the USS Valiant, was down to emergency power. Half his crew was dead or wounded. The alien fleet surrounded Earth like a metal cloud, ready to rain destruction on the planet below. But Thompson had one last card to play. All remaining ships formed defensive sphere around Earth. He broadcast on all frequencies. "Prepare for final stand." The surviving human vessels moved into position, their hulls scarred by battle damage, their weapons running low on ammunition. There were only 43 ships left from the original fleet of 200. They looked tiny against the massive alien armada. Admiral Krextall watched the pathetic human formation with satisfaction. The insects had finally run out of tricks. Their fleet was broken, their defenses shattered. Now he could finish this properly. "All ships move to close range," he commanded. "I want to see the fear in their eyes when we destroy their world." The Zelthari fleet closed in like a tightening noose. Thousands of alien ships formed a perfect sphere around Earth, their weapons powered up and ready to fire. It was the largest concentration of military force in the history of the galaxy. Deep in her underground laboratory, Dr. Helen Brooks watched the tactical display with cold calculation. Everything was going according to plan. The aliens had done exactly what she hoped they would do. They had brought their entire fleet close to Earth, packed together in a tight formation. "Are all the installations ready?" she asked her assistant. "Yes, ma'am. Every transmitter on the planet is synchronized and waiting for your signal." Brooks nodded and placed her hand on the activation switch. She had spent years preparing for this moment, studying alien technology, learning its weaknesses, building the weapons that would save her world. Now it was time to see if her work had been worth the cost. "Dr. Brooks," came President Carter's voice over the intercom. "The alien fleet is in position. Are you ready?" "Ready, Madam President." "Then God help us all." "Do it." Brooks pressed the switch. Around the globe, hidden installations came to life. Radio towers, satellite dishes, and communication arrays that had been secretly modified over the past 5 years began broadcasting at maximum power. The signal they sent was not random noise or meaningless static. It was a carefully crafted frequency pattern designed to exploit a fatal flaw in Zelthari technology. Lieutenant Colonel Amy Price felt the vibration through her boots as the orbital defense platform's main transmitter activated. The massive dish began rotating, targeting the alien fleet with invisible energy. Similar platforms around Earth did the same, all of them synchronized to broadcast the same deadly signal. "All stations report ready," Price announced. "Frequency pattern is transmitting at full power." The effect was not immediate. For several seconds, nothing seemed to happen. The alien ships continued their approach, their weapons charging for the final bombardment. Admiral Krextall prepared to give the order that would end human civilization. Then the first ship exploded. It was a small escort vessel on the edge of the alien formation. Its power core overloaded without warning, turning the ship into a brief star that lit up the darkness of space. The explosion was so sudden that even the aliens were surprised. "What happened?" Krextall demanded. "Unknown, sir. The ship just exploded. No warning, no enemy fire. Investigate immediately." But before anyone could respond, another ship exploded. Then another. And another. Dr. Brooks watched her screens with fierce satisfaction. The frequency pattern was working exactly as she had hoped. The aliens had built their ships with interconnected power systems, designed to share energy and coordinate their actions. It made them incredibly efficient and powerful. It also made them incredibly vulnerable. The frequency pattern she was broadcasting interfered with the alien power cores, causing them to become unstable. But the real genius was that the effect spread from ship to ship through their own communication networks. Every time an alien vessel tried to contact another, it passed along the deadly signal. Captain Thompson stared in amazement as the alien fleet began to tear itself apart. Ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light, their power cores overloading and detonating. The explosions created chain reactions, debris from one ship smashing into another, causing secondary explosions that spread through the tightly packed formation. "What's happening?" asked his weapons officer. "Dr. Brooks is what's happening," Thompson replied with a grin. "She found a way to turn their own technology against them." The alien fleet was in chaos. Ships collided with each other as their navigation systems failed. Captains tried to contact their commanders, not knowing that every message they sent was spreading the deadly frequency pattern deeper into their fleet. Admiral Krextall watched his mighty armada destroy itself and felt something he had never experienced before: terror. His perfect formation had become a death trap. His powerful ships were exploding like firecrackers, their own weapons turning against them. "All ships, retreat!" He screamed into his communicator. "Get away from Earth! Emergency jump to hyperspace!" But it was too late. The frequency pattern had infected the entire fleet through their communication networks. Every ship that tried to escape carried the deadly signal with them. When they reached minimum safe distance and attempted to jump to hyperspace, their overloaded power cores exploded instead. Lieutenant Sarah Kim watched her instruments in wonder as the alien fleet tore itself apart. The enemy ships were exploding so fast that her sensors couldn't keep track of them all. What had been a formation of nearly 10,000 vessels was rapidly becoming a cloud of expanding debris. "Ma'am, I'm detecting massive power fluctuations throughout the alien fleet," she reported. "It looks like their entire network is collapsing. How many ships are left?" asked Captain Thompson. Sarah checked her screens. "Approximately 300, sir. And the number is dropping fast. The space around Earth had become a graveyard. Twisted metal and burning plasma filled the void where the alien fleet had been. The few surviving Zelthari ships fled in terror, their crews in shock at the sudden reversal of fortune. General Pete Davis watched the battle from his command bunker, hardly believing what he was seeing. The largest invasion force in galactic history was destroying itself before his eyes. The aliens who had seemed invincible just minutes before were now running for their lives. Sir, we're tracking the surviving enemy vessels, reported his aide. Most of them are fleeing toward the outer system. Should we pursue? No, Davis replied. Let them go. They can spread the word about what happens when you try to conquer Earth. Dr. Brooks finally allowed herself to smile. The plan she had developed in secret, working with a small team of scientists and engineers, had succeeded beyond her wildest hopes. The frequency weapon had not only stopped the invasion, it had turned the aliens' greatest strength against them. President. Carter's voice echoed through the command center. This is the President. The alien fleet has been defeated. Earth is safe. I repeat, Earth is safe. Cheers erupted from every human installation, every ship, every bunker where people had waited in terror for the end of the world. They had been outnumbered 50-1. Outgunned by technology centuries ahead of their own, facing an enemy that had conquered half the galaxy. And they had one. Captain. Thompson looked out at the debris field that had once been the alien fleet and shook his head in amazement. Remind me never to make Dr. Brooks angry, he said. His crew laughed, the sound echoing through the bridge. They had faced certain death and lived to tell about it. Earth had been saved not by superior firepower or advanced technology, but by human ingenuity and the refusal to give up when the odds seemed impossible. In the wreckage of his flagship, Admiral Krextall transmitted his final message to the Zelthari homeworld. Do not come to Earth. The humans are not what they seem. They are dangerous beyond imagination. Then his ship exploded, and the warning was lost in the cosmic wind. The explosion of the alien fleet lit up the sky like a second sun. From Earth's surface, people could see the bright flashes even in daylight. But General Pete Davis knew the battle was not over yet. His radar screens still showed enemy ships trying to escape, and he had one more surprise waiting for them. Activate Operation Ghost Fleet, Davis commanded. Around Earth's orbit, pieces of space debris that had been floating quietly for hours suddenly came to life. What the aliens had thought were broken satellites and destroyed ships revealed themselves to be perfectly functional human vessels. Their crews had been waiting in complete silence, watching the battle unfold. Captain Lisa Turner felt her heart race as her ship, the USS Phantom, powered up its engines for the first time in 6 hours. She and her crew had been playing dead since before the aliens arrived, hiding among the orbital junk that surrounded Earth. All Ghost Fleet vessels, this is Turner, she broadcast on the secret frequency. Time to show these aliens what humans do to uninvited guests? 47. Ships that had been invisible to alien sensors suddenly appeared on their displays. The surviving Zelthari vessels, already panicked and confused, found themselves facing fresh human forces that seemed to come from nowhere. Commander Steve Jackson piloted his small fighter craft toward the nearest alien ship. His vessel was tiny compared to the enemy, but it was fast and carried enough firepower to damage their engines. Behind him flew 11 other fighters, all of them pilots who had volunteered for what everyone thought was a suicide mission. Remember the plan, Jackson told his squadron. Hit their engines and jump drives. We don't need to destroy them. We just need to make sure they can't run away. The alien ships were trying desperately to reach the edge of the solar system where they could jump to hyperspace and escape. But Dr. Brooks had one more trick to play. Her frequency weapon was still broadcasting, and every alien ship that tried to communicate with others was spreading the deadly signal further. In her underground laboratory, Dr. Brooks worked with her team to track the fleeing enemies. Her computer screens showed the locations of every surviving alien vessel, and she could see that her weapon was still affecting them. The frequency pattern is following them, she explained to her assistant. Every time they try to coordinate. If they escape, they're actually helping us hunt them down. How is that possible? Asked Dr. Johnson. Their communication system is designed to connect all their ships into one big network. It makes them very efficient when everything is working properly, but now that network has become infected with our signal, every message they send carries the virus further. Admiral Krextall's ship was one of the few that still had working engines. His bridge was filled with smoke and the screams of injured crew members. Half his control panels were dead, and the other half showed readings that made no sense. "Sir, we're receiving reports from the other ships," his communications officer said. "They're requesting instructions." "Tell them to stop using the communicators," Krextel shouted. "Every time we send a message, more ships explode." It was too late. The message had already been sent, and within seconds, 3 more alien vessels erupted in brilliant fireballs. The human weapon was spreading through their fleet like a disease, turning their own technology into their enemy. Captain Turner led her Ghost Fleet ships in a coordinated attack on the largest group of surviving aliens. These were the command ships, the vessels that contained the alien leaders and their advanced technology. If humanity could capture them, they would learn valuable information about their enemies. "Target their weapons and engines," Turner ordered. "We want them alive, if possible." The human ships moved like a pack of wolves, surrounding the alien vessels and striking at their weak points. The aliens tried to fight back, but their systems were failing one by one as the frequency weapon continued to affect them. Lieutenant Commander Dan Miller watched from his position on one of Earth's orbital defense platforms as the battle unfolded below him. The human ships were outnumbered, but they were fighting with a coordination and intelligence that the aliens couldn't match. "Sir, I'm picking up transmissions from the alien fleet," reported his communications specialist. "They're trying to send a message to their homeworld. Can we stop it?" "Dr. Brooks says we shouldn't. She wants them to report what happened here." Miller frowned. "Why would we want that?" "Because when other alien species hear about this, they'll think twice before attacking Earth." The battle raged for 3 more hours. Human ships chased fleeing aliens across the solar system, using their superior speed and maneuverability to prevent escapes. The Ghost Fleet vessels revealed themselves one by one, striking from unexpected directions and confusing the enemy even further. Dr. Brooks coordinated the hunt from her laboratory, using Earth's network of tracking stations to follow every alien ship. Her frequency weapon had evolved beyond her original design, becoming smarter and more deadly with each passing hour. "It's learning," she told President Carter over the secure communication link. "The signal is adapting to their countermeasures faster than they can develop new ones. Is that good or bad?" Carter asked. "For us, it's very good. For them, it's a nightmare." Commander Jackson's fighter squadron cornered a group of alien ships near Jupiter. The enemy vessels were trying to hide in the planet's massive radiation field, hoping it would interfere with human sensors. But Jackson had grown up reading about naval battles, and he understood the principle of cutting off an enemy's retreat. "Blue Squadron, take the high orbit. Red Squadron, go low. We'll trap them between Jupiter and its moons." The alien ships found themselves caught in a carefully planned ambush. When they tried to escape toward open space, human fighters were waiting for them. When they tried to hide deeper in Jupiter's atmosphere, more human ships cut off their retreat. One by one, the alien vessels were disabled or destroyed. Their crews, those who survived, were taken prisoner by human boarding parties. It was the first time in Zalfari history that their warriors had been captured by a species they considered primitive. As the sun set on Earth, the battle was finally ending. Of the original 9,900 alien ships, only a handful remained. Most were too damaged to fight, their crews surrendering or abandoning ship. The space around Earth was filled with debris and the wreckage of what had once been the most powerful military force in the galaxy. Captain Thompson, still aboard his battered ship, received reports from across the solar system. The human forces had performed beyond all expectations, turning a hopeless defeat into the greatest victory in Earth's history. "Final count, sir," reported Lieutenant Kim. 17 alien ships escaped to hyperspace. All others destroyed or captured. Thompson leaned back in his command chair and smiled. 17 out of 9,900. "I think we can live with those odds." President Carter addressed the world from the White House, her voice carried to every nation on Earth. "My fellow humans," she began, "today we face the greatest threat in our history. An alien empire tried to conquer our world with the largest fleet ever assembled. They came here expecting an easy victory. They were wrong. Across the planet, people celebrated in the streets. They had gone to bed the night before expecting to wake up as slaves to an alien empire. Instead, they woke up as citizens of the world that had defeated the galaxy's greatest military power. Brooks finally allowed herself to rest, knowing that her work had saved not just Earth, but potentially every free species in the galaxy. The aliens would think twice before attacking anyone now, knowing that their victims might have weapons they couldn't imagine. The 17 surviving alien ships carried more than just refugees from a defeated fleet. They carried a warning that would spread across the galaxy. Earth was no longer a target. It was a threat. The 17 Zelthari ships that escaped Earth's solar system carried with them the most shocking news in galactic history. Their crews were broken, traumatized by the complete destruction of what had been considered an unstoppable force. The reports they brought back to the Zelthari High Command were so unbelievable that many refused to accept them. Admiral Krextal stood before the High Council, his uniform torn and his pride shattered. The massive chamber was filled with the most powerful beings in the Zelthari Empire, and all of them were staring at him with disbelief and growing fear. You claim that a primitive species destroyed 9,883 ships? Asked High Commander Vexron, his voice dripping with skepticism. Yes, sir. The humans turned our own technology against us. They infected our entire fleet with some kind of weapon that spread through our communication networks. That's impossible. No species has ever developed such technology. Krextal's hands shook as he activated the holographic display. Images of the battle filled the chamber, showing the systematic destruction of the Zelthari fleet. The council members watched in stunned silence as ship after ship exploded, their own power cores turning against them. The humans are not what we thought, Krextal continued. They fight with a savagery and intelligence we have never encountered. They use their deaths as weapons, passing knowledge to their survivors. They hide ships among space debris and attack from directions we never expected. High Commander Vexron studied the images with growing alarm. The Zelthari Empire had built its power on the fear they inspired in other species. If word of this defeat spread, that fear would turn into hope. Other worlds might begin to resist. How many ships escaped? He asked. 17, sir. Out of 9,900. The number hung in the air like a death sentence. The council members looked at each other with expressions of shock and worry. The greatest military operation in their history had become their greatest disaster on Earth. President Lisa Carter walked through the memorial gardens that had been built to honor the fallen. Nearly 3,000 human crew members had died in the battle, including Captain Roy Thompson and many other heroes. Their sacrifice had saved 8 billion lives, but the cost still weighed heavily on her heart. They saved the world, said General Pete Davis, walking beside her. Every one of them knew they were probably going to die, and they went anyway. Carter stopped at Thompson's memorial stone and placed a small bouquet of flowers at its base. We need to make sure their sacrifice wasn't in vain. The aliens will be back someday, and when they come, they'll be better prepared. Dr. Brooks is already working on new defenses. She says the frequency weapon won't work twice. The aliens will develop countermeasures. Then we'll develop countermeasures to their countermeasures. That's what humans do. We adapt. Davis nodded and looked up at the sky where work crews were, clearing the last of the alien debris from Earth's orbit. The wreckage had provided valuable technology and materials, advancing human science by decades. In just a few months, Dr. Helen Brooks had become the most famous scientist on Earth, but she remained focused on her work. In her expanded laboratory, now funded with unlimited resources, she studied captured alien technology and developed new weapons for Earth's defense. The frequency weapon was just the beginning, she explained to her team of researchers. We need to think bigger, more creatively. The aliens underestimated us once. They won't make that mistake again. Her assistant, Dr. Johnson, held up a piece of alien computer equipment. What about this neural network processor? Could we adapt it for our ships? Possibly. But remember, we don't want to copy their technology. We want to understand it well, enough to defeat it. The moment we start thinking like them, we lose our greatest advantage. Which is? Brooks smiled. We think like humans. Chaotic, unpredictable, stubborn humans who refuse to follow the rules. Captain Lisa Turner had been promoted to admiral and given command of Earth's new deep space fleet. The ships under her command were built using lessons learned from the battle, incorporating alien technology with human innovation. They were faster, stronger, and more maneuverable than anything humanity had built before. How many ships will we have ready by the end of the year? Asked President Carter during their monthly briefing. 500 combat vessels, plus support. Ships, Turner replied. We're also building orbital defense platforms around Mars and Jupiter. If anyone attacks the solar system again, they'll face resistance at every planet. And the new crews? Volunteers from every nation on Earth, word, has spread about what happened here, and everyone wants to be part of the defense fleet. We have 10 applicants for every available position. The victory at Earth had changed humanity in fundamental ways. The knowledge that they were not alone in the universe, and that other species saw them as threats rather than victims, had united the planet like nothing before. Old rivalries and conflicts seemed petty compared to the vast challenges of galactic politics. Commander Steve Jackson led a patrol squadron to the edge of the solar system, where they encountered something unexpected. 3 alien ships approached under a flag of truce, but they were not Zelthari vessels. These belonged to a species called the Novari, who had been fighting the Zelthari Empire for centuries. Human ships. This is Captain Zeltar of the Novari. Republic, came the transmission. We request permission to speak with your leaders. Jackson was cautious but curious. State your intentions. We come seeking alliance. Word of your victory over the Zelthari has spread across the galaxy. Many species who have suffered under their rule wish to join forces with Earth. The meeting took place on neutral ground, at a space station built from captured alien technology. President Carter led the human delegation. Accompanied by Admiral Turner and Dr. Brooks, the Novari representatives were tall, slender beings with silver skin and large eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom. The Zelthari Empire has ruled through fear for over 1,000 years, explained Captain Zeltar. They have conquered hundreds of worlds, enslaved billions of beings. Your victory proves they can be defeated. What exactly are you proposing? Carter asked. An alliance of free worlds? Shared technology, mutual defense, coordinated resistance against the Empire. Together we can liberate the galaxy. Dr. Brooks leaned forward with interest. What kind of technology are we talking about? Medical advances that could extend human life by centuries. Energy sources that could power your entire planet. Faster than light travel that would let you reach distant stars in days instead of years. Carter considered the offer carefully. Earth had won one battle, but the war for galactic freedom was just beginning. Humanity could try to go it alone, or they could join with other species who shared their values of independence and self-determination. We'll need guarantees, she said finally. Earth's security comes first. We won't sacrifice our independence for any alliance. Understood. We seek partners, not subjects. The negotiations continued for weeks, resulting in the formation of the Free Worlds Alliance. Earth became one of the founding members, along with 12 other species that had either escaped Zelthari rule or successfully resisted their expansion. Dr. Brooks was put in charge of the Alliance's research division, working with alien scientists to develop new weapons and defenses. Her frequency weapon had been just the first step in a technological revolution that would change the balance of power in the galaxy. Admiral Turner commanded the Alliance fleet, a growing force of ships from multiple worlds working together against their common enemy. Human tactics and alien technology proved to be a devastating combination. The story of the 9,900 ships spread throughout the galaxy, becoming legend among both free worlds and conquered ones. It represented hope for the oppressed and fear for the oppressors. Earth, the small blue planet that had seemed so insignificant, had become a symbol of resistance that inspired rebellions across the galaxy. In the end, humanity's greatest victory was not just surviving the invasion, but proving that no empire, no matter how powerful, was invincible when faced with beings who refused to surrender their freedom.